me my purity ring.
That is, so he bought a bunch of girls a purity ring. That is weird.
And it's engraved "Love Daddy" on the inside.
What the fuck? First, just tell me your name.
Brooke. I'm Brooke Condon. I am a 30-year-old single parent. Live in Russellville still. Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about what made you want to come on and actually tell your story.
You said it best. Revenge. I won't even sugarcoat it. Not justice. I just want revenge. I want to literally watch their whole world burn. I mean, and I guess it's because, they take really broken and vulnerable people and they literally strip them of anything and everything that they have. I mean, when they found me, I was already basically nothing. I come from nothing. I had nothing. I was homeless from the time I was 16 to 18 years old, couch hopping from friend to friend's house, living with my godmom for a little bit. Well, me and my godmom were both going through things at that time and we clashed and I ended up moving out. Well, I had nowhere else to go. And it was either, the streets or a doulum, and so, and even moving in, I knew I was about to lose all my freedom, and that was really hard to give up.
And that's a sad part of it is that a lot of these, but still a kid, right? Because
I was still in high school,
right? We're adults now. We're like, yeah, you're a freaking kid. So obviously, some of these kids already had a lot that they went through, and some of them didn't have another choice. But they were exploited because of that too.
Exactly. And I was basically like a walking dollar sign to these people. Literally, their names suit them. The dollars love a dollar, okay? And they will literally go to any level and extreme to get a fucking dollar.
And he hates that whenever people make fun of their name too, because his whole story about someone telling him he wasn't worth 50 cents.
Because he's not. He's not worth a penny.
But here's the thing: if you would act like a nice person and actually try to be better,
exactly,
and admit to your wrongs, then you would be worth more.
You're a condescending, egotistical prick.
We wouldn't
with a wife who has a stick so far up her ass that she can't even sit right. She talks in her baby voice that she talks in. I can't stand it. Yeah. They irk me on every level that you could possibly irk a person, I guess.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's
really
they do. They have a lot of quirks, I guess you would call them.
And it's funny because all of us know these quirks too.
Yes. And seeing their even that podcast that we've talked about a lot today that they did, just the voice that Leslie did, the way she was protecting Mark, the way she would interrupt and how she basically answered all the questions, how, you
could tell she was uncomfortable whenever they started talking about that school thing.
Yes, absolutely. And I mean, of course you would be, because your husband's a freaking creep. And so how else are you supposed to be like, oh, well, he had to leave because he's inappropriately talking to minors and bringing them candy and gifts to the school. But
they had to leave because he was too popular.
Right. He's this big deal. Nobody wants this man. Even his own wife doesn't want him. And even he doesn't want her. She doesn't want him. They stay together because the Bible tells them so. They're basically a walking rhyme.
Yeah. So they probably, which we've talked a little bit about with some of the other episodes and stuff, they told us a lot about their relationship, inappropriately so.
And coming from somebody who, whenever I graduated high school, because I was a senior when I moved in, so I spent my whole senior year there. I graduated. Well, they did not let me have a job the entire time I was still in school. Right. So I wasn't allowed to work. It was just school and them. So once I graduated, they still didn't let me get a job for almost that entire summer. So I was home. Yeah. So I saw the ins and outs of everything that
what did they
most
have
people
you do during that time?
Honestly, Leslie stayed back in her room majority of the time. I stayed out there, watched the young kids. I took care of Zeke. I took care of Bella, fed them lunch, things like that. Sometimes Leslie would go out.
Like a nanny.
Yeah, basically, I was their living nanny for two months during the summer before I got a job. Okay. And Mark would be in there, he'd be there on his phone, would just be watching TV all day. I kid you not. As soon as he dropped the kids off from school, Leslie would be in the living room. I'd be in the living room with her. The kids would be, in their rooms playing, doing whatever. But she'd be on her phone. I'd be watching TV, and the kids would be watching TV. Mark would come in with breakfast for all of us. They'd go for people who had no money, they were buying us breakfast every morning. He's going to Chick-fil-A, McDonald's.
Wow.
For me, Leslie, and all these young
So some kids are being treated certain ways and being really limited on what they're given to eat or when they can eat and all this stuff. But in the meantime, there are certain. So by the time you got there, because a lot of the people that I've talked with are also earlier on, and we do have some stories from people who got there later that I will share anonymously. It takes a long time to be able to talk about these things.
It does. For me, it's been 9 years. For some of these people, it's literally only been 2.
Seriously.
It's literally only been 2.
Scary.
Yeah.
But then, so then some kids at this point were starting to be treated really, really well, like with the family.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends on if you're in or out, which also has a lot to do with how they manipulate you.
Exactly.
So what year was this for you? Like when you
This was when I graduated high school was 2014.
Okay.
So this is the time that I was staying home.
Yeah.
But you could always tell that I was definitely a different type of favorite for Mark. With Mark, it was almost like I could do no wrong.
Yeah.
With Leslie, I could do nothing but wrong.
Right.
You know, I was always doing something wrong. If someone was getting on to me, I remember very specifically, it was hardly ever Mark. It was always Leslie getting on to me.
Yeah.
I remember one time Leslie was getting on to me, sitting in her big chair, and she's like talking down to me, and I look up and Mark's standing behind her, and Mark's literally making faces, mocking her as she's getting on to me, making me laugh. And then I got in trouble for laughing.
They are going to love all this shit that they did to each other behind their back that we're like talking about.
Okay, and Leslie is the biggest crybaby. Okay, when she found out about the survivors of the Doolam group, pictures had been sent to her. This woman had a full-blown 2-year-old fit, crying, screaming, locked herself in her room for 2 hours, crying, comes out, pulled everybody in the living room and said that the reason why we were posting and saying these things in this group on Facebook about them was because we ran away from God, from people who were trying to help us. Like we were the problem, made us the problem, and we were not the problem. They are the problem.
Yeah.
But they told me,
the reason why 36 and counting
have all these issues is because they ran away from God. We didn't run away from God. We ran away from you. That's what I was going to say. When I lived there was a girl who one day went outside. So she went outside to read her book. She ran away. She ran away. Oh my God, I got the balls.
That happened to other people. Like one guy ran away at night one time.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes. And they dropped people off in the middle of the night and dumped them off places.
Yes.
Like, I mean, just craziness. Like,
oh my God.
There's a guy that they've dumped off in random locations 3 times, and he still adores them and thinks that they're God sent.
Oh my God.
His parents brought him. He was in some really, really serious stuff. Like, I mean, it was bad. So that his parents were trying to get him away from it.
Wow.
And Mark and him they're both Georgia boys. What can I say? So they did not get along at all times. One time, Mark dropped him off at McDonald's in Russellville. This kid's not from here. He doesn't know where he's at. Just dropped him off at McDonald's, kicked him out of the van, and left him.
So this leaving kids is like a trend.
Yes, this is not a new thing. They enjoy doing this. Mark gets off on it, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Has to.
I think he likes that power
But Leslie liked because he was a good-looking boy. If they were good-looking, she treated you really good. Same thing with the girls, though. She did it with the girls, though, too. If you were not like more of an attractive female, she treated you accordingly.
You know, that's funny you say that because I had another anonymous person reach out to me who was with them from 2018 to 2020, who not only was choked by Mark, cornered by Mark and Leslie and treated terribly, but also he said specifically that they would only post people that they thought were really pretty or like pleasing to the eye, and especially Leslie was really focused on looks.
Yes.
Which we all know she was really vain, right?
Yes.
She was so into herself, like always performing and showing us how to perform.
I was supposed to be on Broadway.
Seriously.
Like, that was her big thing. I was supposed to be on Broadway.
So can we address for a second something that we talked about as a group earlier, and that is just to confirm that Leslie changed her story on that podcast, that what's next God. I'll try to link it in our video.
You definitely should.
So she always told us that she did not want to be around kids. That she wanted, and then she told y'all that she wanted to be on Broadway.
Told us that she was supposed to be on Broadway, set us down one day. She was just in a really bad mood. I don't know exactly what happened. I remember she set us all down in the living room to let us know this was not her calling. This was her husband's calling.
She always told us that,
and
too.
Because she married Mark, she had to go and do what he was called to do. She did not like us.
No.
She did not want us there. She didn't want the 6 children that she has now. She doesn't want the husband or the life that she has. She never has, and she never will.
That's why she loves the rant, because they're giving her that platform to like teach.
Exactly.
And she sucks up to Karen, but if Karen weren't in the position she's in right now, like Leslie would not care about her.
No, if you don't have a certain position of power, she does not give a shit who you are. And to her, the kids that were living there, we were nothing more than her slaves. We did their laundry. We took care of her 2 youngest children. We cooked all their meals. Yes. We did everything. They didn't do anything. Right. We did it all. We traveled from state to state to state to not only dance and to minister, but we also rebuilt churches. We also built playgrounds. We also fixed things. Like we did things that we were never even qualified to do, which also links into human trafficking.
Right. Did you also have to stuff letters for that place?
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So they actually went to an official company and worked.
So the guy, yes, and the guy who owned that company had been found out his wife left him because he was messing around with young boys.
Huh.
And they continued to let him still come around.
Oh, okay.
And one of the girls that had gotten into a really bad car accident and got put in the hospital, they sent him to go watch over her in the hospital and then told her parents they were not allowed to come in and see her.
Oh my God.
They sent this man who they knew was messing around with young boys. His wife has left him, and they sent him to go watch after a child in the hospital because they were in Missouri or somewhere. They were out of state and they didn't even come see her. But that's their daughter. That's their kid.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. So when I moved in, I was 18. So I was considered, they put me immediately in a leadership position, even though I was still in high school. They didn't consider me as like a student, but they treated me like a student.
Yeah. At that time, they had tried. I feel like they were trying to change their whole persona. Like, it wasn't just a doulum. It was like, well, now we'll take in anybody. Like, anybody who wants to come, you can just
anybody
be a
and
leader.
everybody. Yes.
Yeah. Including like creepy people.
Yes.
Older people.
We were living with over 30-something plus people at a time. I remember we had to lie to DHS. We got a call of DHS came to see us. We had to lie to DHS. We had to redo the houses and everything and lie to them and tell them that certain people like myself and some of the older people weren't actually living there. That we were just there visiting and hanging out. Like, we had to lie about
she strategically told you guys to do that, right? Like, different rooms.
They told us, they're like, so we got DHS coming. They can't know this many people live with us. By state law, this is how many people are actually allowed to live under our roof. If they find out, we're going to get shut down. Yeah. So what do? We all start putting everything in a place where it needs to go. So it looks like less people live there. We have to hide most of our stuff.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, we had to do a lot. We had to make it look like it was only a certain few people living there because DHS did a full sweep of the entire property.
Did you also hear her compare it to protecting Jewish people from Nazis?
Who, Leslie?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so supposedly to one person in our group, she compared that lying to saving people because it's kind of like saving Jewish people from Nazis.
She always put it to us as like us being in the Adullam cave. So us being in the cave, they're protecting us from the outside world. That
so it's okay to lie.
Yes, and then they're like people like me who have nowhere to go. They're even though I'm 18, they're still looking at me telling me I could be at risk to be taken by DHS. So I'm like, oh crap, you know?
Well,
it's like what?
Let me mention that for a second too, because they only took in DHS kids for a short time.
Yes,
and then I don't think DHS let them anymore because there were a lot of weird things going on, like Mark lying.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember there was one person who shared a story where he told her that he could put her in juvie, and then she went to meet with the probation officer, and the probation officer was like, I want to talk to her alone, and Mark didn't like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then he basically told Mark, like, she's just a kid who wants love and attention.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I think there were people who got suspicious.
Yes, there were definitely people, even people that were like on their side, that were working in like the cop situation. They were like, that's really weird.
Seriously.
Like, I went with Mark when we took a girl to the like down there to go talk to a police officer, and he pulled her off in the room alone. And he told this girl, he was like, he's bullshitting you. They're manipulating you. Wow. Just go along with the flow and try to get out.
I would love, if anybody is watching this that might know somebody who worked for Russell in that capacity, I would love to connect with any of those
He was a biker guy with a leather jacket. Like, I remember him. I know exactly what he looks like, but I cannot remember his name. He was awesome, though. Yeah. He was super nice, and he knew, you know, and I think he did everything that he could, you know, but there's only, like, people think that there's so much you could do in a situation like that, but you really can't.
Yeah. But if they had been reported by every person who ever suspected them, then it would have stopped.
Way sooner than it did. So, it's because it's still going on.
Exactly. And I think that's a huge part of this is, like, when you see something weird, trust it and say something about it.
Exactly. If you see something, say something.
Yes.
You know?
Also, besides the phone situation where they were, like, reading your messages because it was on their Apple Cloud, but she didn't know it was set up.
Yes, that's right. Yes, I know what you're talking about now. Yes, they had bought me a phone and they had set it up to their Apple account so that way they could get all my messages, and I wouldn't let them. And but they tried to. They're like, "I want you to set it up to our Apple account." Yeah. So what they did was they had all of us leaders share our phone passcodes, and so what they were doing is they were going through my phone while I was asleep.
Wow.
Or they would make me leave my phone and give them a password, and I have to leave it next door at their house, and I couldn't take it over to the girls' dorm, and they were going through my phone. And then one time I was talking to a guy, and I told on myself. Like, I went and told them, and I still got my phone taken away. You know, I even tried the honesty system.
But you were over 18, like, talking to a guy
over 18. But no, for me it was not. Right. I can remember specifically, there was a time me and Emily, who was just here earlier, we went to Leslie, and she went to Leslie about a guy that she was interested in. I'd gone to Leslie about a guy I was interested in. Let's keep in mind, at this time of age, I am 20 years old.
Wow.
I'm 20 at this time. And yes, I'm still living there. I didn't move out until I was about 22. Yeah. And whenever me and Emily went back there to go talk to Leslie. She was very encouraging on Emily wanting to be with somebody. But as soon as I said something, it was immediately like, you're not ready. That's not God's plan for you. You're not in your far enough walk along with God. You keep going out for undercover. I got I was called a whore. I was called a slut. I was slut shamed by her often. I had to quit one of my jobs because I was accused of sleeping with my boss.
Oh my God, yes. Let's just mention that for a second.
Yeah.
Because she forced you to quit your job that you were doing really well at, that you had a good support system. People were kind to you.
Yes.
And she accused you of sleeping with your boss.
Yes. They said that she had a vision from God, and God had told her I was sleeping with my boss.
I had a vision that you were fucking somebody.
Yes. I had a vision that you wish you were doing it with other people other than your husband.
Jesus.
You know, like, I mean, it's crazy. She's crazy.
She is crazy.
She sat there and she did this in front of everybody. It was dinner time. It started off, she followed me in the line to get dinner, and she told me that if I don't quit my job, then she was going to take the car away from me. And I said, that's fine. I'll find rides to work. I was like, because I was just in my era at that moment. Like, it was getting close to my time where I was getting ready to leave.
Right. You get to a point where you just can't fucking take it anymore.
I couldn't
and
do
so
it.
you either roll over and die or try to hurt yourself like I did, or maybe sometimes just slip out or run away whenever you're going to.
Hey, like, you know what? I got the opportunity to run. Let's run. She had her friend waiting for her down at the hill because, like, we were secluded. Like, these houses were not where you could just find them and get to them. Like, you
lived at the end of like this road that wasn't developed.
No, and there were trees and everything that blocked, so you couldn't see us from any type of drive. Like, we were hidden for sure. We were very secluded from the rest of the world.
Yes,
and that's where we stayed during the summers. We weren't allowed to like go and do any of the fun stuff.
Did you live in their house when you were there?
Oh, girls' dorm the entire time.
Yeah. So they switched people around a lot. Like when I was there were girls upstairs, and then they swithed it around.
They still did that when I lived there.
Yeah.
But they made me stay in the girls' dorm, which I was totally fine with.
Okay. Well, yeah, you don't want to live with Leslie.
No, absolutely. I mean, the little bit that I had to, I was good on. Because whenever I first started going around, the girls were still living in the main house. And so I would sleep upstairs, like stay the night and stuff like that. So I was there for like sleepovers and stuff. But actually living in that house, I don't think I could do it. After hearing some of the stories that have happened to some of these girls by sleeping over there and living over there, no, thank you. But they did buy me a phone. They had another people there. So these people weren't living there. They were just people who were like, who would come around and were a part of the ministry and came around often. I didn't have an actual working phone. I just worked on Wi-Fi at that time.
Yeah.
And so whenever they started coming around, they gave me this phone, and I didn't realize at the time that the Apple ID was connected to his iPad.
Yes, which I think is even more disturbing.
Yes, and then when I found out, I changed it.
Because who knows, you could be talking about your period.
Anything.
You could be talking about all kinds of feminine things that he has no right to be looking at.
And this was 2 men, not one. This was 2.
That's sick.
And this was a man who was just coming around donating and pouring in their time. This was 2 men.
Money will get you far in that.
It really will. It really will.
So tell me more about some of these inappropriate things that happened to you there.
Well, I guess you said it earlier too. You got to have secret weapons to be able to be a car salesman, right, Mark? That's why I was your best one.
Yes.
That was his favorite term for me, was his secret weapon. Most people know, I was blonde back then, about your color blonde, maybe blonder. And as we've already established, Mark really liked the blondes. And I've always been really small in stature. I'm only 4'11", 100 pounds soaking wet. I was Mark Dollar's wet dream, basically.
Seriously, though.
I was literally Mark Dollar's wet dream.
Yeah.
And he very much made that known. I got very special treatment that a lot of other people there didn't get, in ways of like, we were alone together a lot, probably way more often than we should have been. He actually looked at one of his kids one time. She had overheard him call me his secret weapon, and he looked at her and said that, no, you couldn't be, because you're not, everyone likes the cute, tiny blondes. And said it to his own daughter. Yeah. Well, it was at that specific car wash that we were doing, because, we did car washes to like raise money for us. God,
we did so much free labor.
So much free labor. And like, you got to think, Arkansas summers are already scorcher, they're brutal. And we're not allowed to wear tank tops or really short shorts. So we're in shorts, like basketball shorts and like t-shirts in this hot summer washing cars. Well, I was the only one who would be allowed to approach the vehicles that would come up and speak to them and be able to like collect their donations and let them know who we were, what we did, like what we were doing, what we were collecting the money for, and all this stuff. And well, at one of that same car wash where he had, told his daughter she couldn't be her secret weapon, I was dealing with an instance with a gentleman at my job at the time who was becoming like a very stalkerish situation. He was trying to, get on my social media and things, and I blocked him. But he would come into my place of work and would only sit in a particular place where he could stare at me the entire time. He would try to talk to me, things like that. Like I would notice he would start to appear places where I was at. It just became really uncomfortable. Well, he ended up showing up to this car wash. I don't know how he figured out I was there.
Right, that's creepy.
He figured out I was there, and he showed up in his very clean truck. And I told Mark, I looked at him and I said, this is the guy I've been telling you about.
His truck is really clean.
Exactly. And like, that's made it even worse. And I was like, his truck doesn't even need to be washed, you know? And I told Mark, I was like, this is the guy who has been, you know, like stalking me and like trying to like talk to me and like come into my job, making me uncomfortable. Like to the point that when I'd come in, my boss would have me go and hide in the back until he would leave.
Wow.
Like, or I wouldn't even let me be out in the vicinity of anywhere out there. Like I'd just be in the kitchen helping. Weird. Yes. And I'd gone to my boss about it so many times that he believed me and he saw it. Yeah. But the people who are supposed to be protecting me and who are my family, what Mark does is utterly unbelievable. I walk up to Mark and I tell him, I'm like, please don't make me go talk to this truck. I was like, this is the guy that I told you about that's been like stalking me at work. I was like, I do not feel comfortable. I don't want to go talk to him. Mark looks at me and smiles ear to ear and says, well, he's here because he likes you so much. If you go and talk to him and then wash his car for him, then he'll give us a bigger tip. So Mark made me go and talk to this man. And not only that, as I told Mark, I was like, I'm going to go down there and go hold signs while he's here. Mark said, no, you're going to go wash his car. So I had to go and wash this man's truck, and I'm shaking and I'm trying not to break down in tears the entire time. And this man's just watching me, and I look over at Mark and Mark's just smiling. Yeah. And Mark goes and talks to him at the end. He doesn't make me talk to him at the end, and he hands Mark a $100 bill. And Mark walks up to me and he goes, see, he goes, that's why you're my secret weapon. And then puts the money in the jar.
That is absolutely disgusting. That is disgusting.
Very. I mean, and how do you think that makes, I mean, I'm an 18-year-old girl who's struggled with high insecurity most of her life. You know, like I've never had boyfriends like that or anything. Like I was not always like, I was not the pretty swan in the pond, I guess, you know, like and things like that to me didn't matter. I had a lot going on in my life and I went through a lot as a kid. I didn't really get much of a childhood. I was literally like a walking, like I said, I was a walking dollar sign for the dollars because of my traumatic past and everything that I went through. And so they put me on that pedestal. They put me in front and center on that stage for solos, for dances, because my passion, like you said with Shayna. And then, you know, I preached, I got on stage and I spoke my testimony and I loved it. And it was like such
because we had a purpose and like people cared about what we had to say.
The times that Mark and Leslie loved me the most were those times because I was about to be their money maker. Because let me tell you, when I started out on that stage and I started preaching, we did start making more connections with churches. We did start having more money come in our pockets. Like I was like, you know, to them I was their star, right? But also on the inside, they didn't treat me like that. I was basically Britney Spears. They put me on the stage to make me look good, and then they brought me inside and told me to shave my head because I was crazy.
It's just, you know, like the ramp, really. Like you are abused, and you're like their little puppet. Yes. Yeah, and they love you whenever you're doing all that for them.
Exactly. There were a few times I tried to dye my hair darker because I always found it weird how much Mark did enjoy me having my blonde hair. I still have comments on, like, I'm sure they're gone now, but I took screenshots. I have all the pictures. I still have all of me and Mark's text messages basically from day one. And if you go back and read them, you see grooming at its finest. This man was texting me in ways that he should have never have been texting me. When me and my ex-husband, when we first got together, he had met him and everything. And I remember Mark texting me, and I still have those messages too. Mark texted me telling me that, like, oh, he liked him and everything. He was like, but I'm sad that he's taken away my Brookie and things like that. Yes.
That is really strange.
Very possessive over me. Mark always would tell me that he could picture me being with somebody like him. He's like, you know.
That's so weird.
And I was his, you know, he was my daddy.
Oh
like,
my God.
he was
so he had you call him daddy. He wanted you to.
It was Daddy Mark. He bought me my purity ring.
That is, so he bought a bunch of girls a purity ring. That is weird.
And it's engraved Love Daddy on the inside.
What the fuck? Okay. Yeah. Listen, if they don't want to be like a cult, like, that's the worst thing you can do.
No. And they gave it to me. And, like, I spent, because, like, I didn't have a family. I didn't have a family. I had nowhere to go, and they knew that. So, like, to them, I was like, they'd call me their daughter. And they gave me.
They love to manipulate people like that.
They did. And they gave me everything I wanted.
They're like, you're our ministry.
You can't do this. If you can't do this, but I would not quit my job at the first time. Leslie not only threatened to take the vehicle away when I told her, you know, oh, no, that's fine. I'll get people to take me to work and bring me home. That's when she took me into the living room and started accusing me of sleeping with my boss, calling me a whore. One time I did end up with a UTI. I mean, but you got to think, like, the hygiene there was not proper.
Okay, they limited our shower time.
They did. They limited our shower time. We weren't allowed to shave. Yeah. We weren't allowed, like, we'd go times without tampons, or the tampons they'd buy for us would be so bad for us that they would literally cause, like, issues down there. Like, we were not allowed to properly hygienically take care of ourselves. Yeah. And they didn't provide the stuff for us to be able to do that either. Sometimes we'd go without body wash. And so you'd have to just wash yourself with just water. You're not really getting clean. Yeah. And I mean, when I say they don't let you shave, I mean, they took it as if you're shaving, then you're fucking. It's like, it was a lot, you know.
Well, and Leslie would, like, monitor the stuff.
Yes.
Like, so we were talking earlier in the group how Leslie would, like, monitor well, why was somebody shaving their private area?
Yes.
Like, what does that matter?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Oh my God.
This is really embarrassing to say.
You also had to buy your own cleaning supplies and groceries.
Yes. And if you didn't have a job or didn't have a family to provide money like I didn't at the time, they had to provide everything for me. And when they're not providing anything for you, I was scrounging off of everybody else's shit what little bit I could without people noticing. Yes. Like I was basically like a rat living in the walls.
Seriously, I would take like a little bit of their shit. And meanwhile, Leslie had the best shampoo,
best conditioners,
you know, or she getting her hair done.
Whenever it was just me and her there, like during the day, whenever I wasn't in school anymore, she'd let me go take a shower in her shower and go use all her nice stuff or whatever, as if that's making up for all the time she didn't buy me all the shit that I needed at the time. Well, whenever I ended up with that UTI at that time, she always got UTIs. This woman was the queen of UTIs, okay? She had pills on pills on pills for UTIs. Yeah. So I went to her to give me some cranberry pills for my UTI, and she literally threw them at me and told me if I wasn't keeping my legs open and being a little whore, then maybe I wouldn't have a UTI in front of everybody. And I just looked at her and I grabbed her and I said, thanks, but aren't you the one who has the UTI pills? Yeah. And I just walked away. Wow. And that was at like my ending time there too. Yeah. And, you know, they were very, very much always in my ass at that point because they were assuming that I was off doing this and doing that. The times that they were accusing me of actually doing stuff, I wasn't. But hey guys, guess what? When you were accusing me of fucking, I was actually fucking. I would tell them I'd like go down to the lake down by our house and I'd be praying, bitch. I was praying, all right.
That's so funny. There's like so many people who were a little bit older because they wouldn't let people leave.
No.
They like didn't want you to go anywhere once you got old enough to actually be an
Mark
adult.
especially didn't want me to go.
Dude,
Leslie was ready for me to go for a long time.
Well, there were a lot of girls who would like sneak off and do that.
You know, like Shane, I've always been a tomboy. And, you know, so like I always hung out with the dudes. I only grew up with brothers. I didn't know how to be a girl. So, you know, living with a bunch of girls was like culture shock for me. And Leslie didn't like the fact that I just could not be a girly girl. She was trying to pin it on me so bad. Like she changed my wardrobe and everything. Trying to make you choose and pick what you could wear, what you couldn't wear, things like that. We weren't allowed to hang out with the boys, but Mark treated me like one of the boys. That was for sure. Like he did the same. Like he'd choke me, but he never choked me out. Like but I think almost for him it was almost like he liked coming back behind me kind of thing.
He never choked me out all the way either. He might have once, but I didn't play those games. Like I didn't like it.
And see, because I thought that was like how to stay close with him, I would, you know, and so I'd be very playful. And I was like telling you earlier about how the one time we played like the slap hand game. Yeah. And he was telling me, and like the guys were like giving me shit, telling me like I couldn't keep up with the guys to the point that like my knuckles were bleeding. That's so and my fingers and hands were swollen red because this grown ass 6 foot something tall man is like smacking my hands as hard as he can. But I'd come right back to, and then like I'd flip them back over, and like we went at it for probably 30 minutes.
Maybe he does have a weird thing for something like that.
I think he does get off from like hurting people. I really do, because like you know like choking people, you know, making them unconscious,
and everything he made people do like was always so weird and torturous.
Very like I feel like that was a very key component for them is you know, what can we do to make these people miserable as we can, but also make it seem like it's heaven on earth, right? And it was a weird combination. It was a very weird combination. I just think that the fact that he allowed another member to, you know, secretly put flowers in my car, leave pieces.
Tell us a little bit about that situation, because here's the thing: Adulam and Mark and Leslie's ministries, they were really, really good for predators. Like there wasn't a lot of oversight or accountability or caring really about that stuff, and so many people had multiple instances. Brook having multiple. Do you like to go by Brook or Brooklyn?
Brook.
Okay. Yeah. I never like to assume, but there were multiple instances of this. So why don't you tell us about this one?
Yes. In this case, I won't use his name because we have talked about it and I don't hold anything against him. But it is, Mark is to blame for what happened. Yeah. He had started off by leaving like flowers in my car. And also leaving like these weird like pieces of paper in my car that were a note, but it was like cut like a puzzle piece. And one note attached to it had said, "I'm going to slowly be giving you these puzzle pieces and you have to put them together." Well, that only lasted for like a couple of days. And I was also getting texts from like these random numbers. And it was this person, but I didn't know who it was. But also this is the same time where I'm dealing with this guy at work who's like been practically stalking me. And so like, I don't know what's going on. I just know I'm freaking out. Yeah. Well, one night I get a text from one of these random numbers, because he's not texting me off on one random number, but like 3 or 4.
Holy shit.
So which makes me wonder, maybe some of that was Mark too. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like there were fake apps downloaded that gave them fake numbers, and he was texting off several different numbers, which makes me feel like maybe Mark was maybe a part of that as well. And they were, I don't know for sure on that part, but anyway, I get a text one night and I'm in my room and it tells me to go to my back porch. So at the girls' dorm, I was living upstairs at this time. It was what once was the boys' dorm, and we had that back door. and then we have like this long like wooden porch. So I go and I open the door and I'll step out onto the porch, and all I see is candles lit all the way from the top of the stairs all the way down to the bottom. Another thing of flowers, and then this plastic baggie with the rest of these puzzle piece of the note in it. And so I grab the note and the flowers or whatever, and I go upstairs and I go and hide in my closet. And as I'm in my closet, I'm like shaking and I'm freaking out, and I'm starting to trying to put the puzzle pieces together. And I happen to just flip one of the puzzle pieces over, and it had his name on it. And I literally busted out in tears. Like, I'm trying not to cry about it, thinking about it right now.
Yeah.
I just busted out in tears, like freaking out. And then my friend Emily, who was my roommate at the time, she came upstairs and she was looking for me. She found me in my closet, and I'm like literally in the fetal position in my closet crying. Because not because of just the situation at hand. Not only was it terrifying, the way it was being done, but the fact that I just kind of felt like I was just someone that they looked at as just someone who they could just pass around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you felt like objectified.
Oh, absolutely.
And also scared for your safety and confused about what's going on.
Yes, I had no idea what to think or what to do.
Yeah.
And
plus with that weird ass guy like stalking you at work, that's terrifying.
And it's all like correlating around that time. Like now I'm thinking this guy figured out where I lived.
Yeah.
But then when I find out that it's somebody that I live with, it hurt even more, because for one, I didn't picture this person being into me like that. And then for two, I knew that if I came out and I said something about it to Mark and Leslie, I was going to be to blame. I knew I was. Yeah. I thought that I was going to get in trouble for doing something wrong. Yeah. So I didn't want to say anything. Well, the next morning,
they would get onto anybody for like flirting and stuff, even when you weren't.
Exactly. So how it ended up going about was the next morning, we went over for Bible study. He had asked me, did I get the note? And I said yes, and I went back into the living room really fast. We did Bible study. Emily made me go back there and tell Mark and Leslie what had happened, and she made sure to be there as like my defender, so that way they didn't get on to me. Well, then later that night, Mark pulls both me and Brook, and we talk about it and we discuss it, and then he, apologizes and everything. And then I find out later that Mark was the one who orchestrated the entire thing and was telling him what to do, and told him to go put the flowers in my car, told him how to do the note thing, told him how to send me text messages off of random numbers, which is why I think Mark may have been on one of those there's numbers in some way. I almost feel like all these ideas that Mark was giving as Mark was living through that he wished he could do it to me. Yes. Like that was Mark's way of wanting to actually be doing that to me, but he couldn't, so he had to do it.
Yeah.
And that's crazy.
I actually thought the exact same thing right before you said it.
It's crazy because that didn't actually click with me until like maybe a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And I was just like,
it's weird how you say things differently over time.
It is. It's really crazy.
And that's why it's so hard to process all of it, because you do process it differently when you have a child. Like, I haven't had children, but I can only imagine.
Having a kid definitely makes you look at it totally differently. And then, like I told you earlier, I was still going around, and I couldn't help but still want to be a part even after.
Yeah. Well, it's very confusing when you come out. Yes. Like I was telling you guys earlier, I wanted to please them for a while.
Yeah. And I was still going over there when I was pregnant, and like they were making it seem like such a good thing for me and everything. And then it was that one night that I wish I would have never let happen, but it was that one night I let Parker stay the night, and she was just a baby. And all I could think about the entire time was, if they remotely let her feel how they made me feel, I couldn't live with myself. And from that moment on, I had nothing left to do with them. Yeah. I went and got my kid that day, and I never spoke to him again.
Wow.
I was done. It
was like the end for you.
It was, because I couldn't imagine watching my daughter go through what I went through. Yeah. I couldn't imagine watching my daughter think that kind of environment is appropriate. And so me taking her there and letting her stay the night there is basically saying, I allow this and I do not.
Yeah.
And that's now putting my daughter in a dangerous position for her to be around anybody who could do anything to her. Right. Because I am very, very lucky that nobody actually physically sexually assaulted me. I do 100% believe that the opportunity given, it would have been taken.
Exactly. And there are rumors of other people who have been.
Yes.
And it was not reported.
Nope.
So we are not able to get in contact with some of those people, but we all, many of us know about it. But yeah, I think that was like such a breeding ground for that, and people just weren't protected or respected in any manner.
And women were definitely seen as objects.
Oh yeah. And for me, I think even though I don't have a kid, one of the things that really helped me to truly be brave and see how it was, like I'd already separated, but to start speaking out was like meeting my husband and having someone who really did love me and who really did help me heal. And then I was like, okay, yes. Like, I'm confident that what happened was not okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I've had people come into my life over the last, year, 2 years, and, be that supportive person that I've needed, and be like, no, this crap isn't okay. Yeah, you should take them down. Like, supporting me in everything that I've wanted.
There have been a lot of people supporting
us. And it's been awesome.
It is.
It has been amazing how many people have come out. And like even people that I've only known for like short amount of time, you know, even sending me like links to your video saying like, you should get with this girl. And I'm like, little do you know.
People are sending me like others and I'm like, yeah, I actually was with them like in the or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. But I love that people care.
Yes. Like people are actually like, they want to, they want us to get our stories out there. Like they've heard just snippets, you know.
Well,
like,
because a lot of people denied us.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
I would have gotten a whole lecture. I'm already being slut shamed and horse slammed on a daily basis as it is. I'm being forced to quit my job and go work at another job where they can still spy on me. They made me go work at Friendship. Yeah. So I was working with special needs children, which I love that job. You know, that job was really hard to go into, but at the end, I actually really ended up loving that job. But the whole purpose of them making me quit that job at my other one and go into this one was because we had people who worked there from Adulam. So they could keep an eye on me. They could watch me.
Wherever
they could listen.
Infiltrated was the only place.
They couldn't watch me at Sumo. Yeah. They could only, but they could watch me there.
Right. Everybody has to go to the same school. Everybody has to work at the same place.
Exactly. You have to be where others are because they have to know and keep an eye on you 24/7.
So this is why you believe victims, because it is extremely rare and almost never that victims lie. Like victims don't lie. Like, why would you want to talk about that? That's so embarrassing.
Why would I want to do something like? And I'm not going to ruin or tarnish anybody's name who doesn't deserve it. I'm sorry.
But that's the thing is that people are so afraid to do it. But it's time to start talking about it.
It is. It absolutely is. It's very difficult. So I'm not trying to get all like emotional.
No,
I might as well. Like they made me feel like I should just wear a fat ass A on my chest 24/7.
Yeah.
I was not a whore. I didn't sleep around. You know, like I had sex before I moved in there. I had sex. I lost my virginity at 16.
Well, a lot of us lost our virginity to people who were also taking advantage of us.
Exactly.
As children.
Exactly. And I didn't lose my virginity in the best way. Right. You know, and so, but because I was tarnished. I was garbage. I was trash. Or, you know, they tried to baptize us and make us reborn Christians and reborn virgins again. Yeah. But, you know, but they never let me be that reborn virgin that they apparently claim me to be.
Well, because they never let people live down anything they did wrong. As a child, for one, they don't necessarily have a choice. They don't know what they're doing.
Exactly.
But then Mark and Leslie love to put any kind of label of that on you to keep you under their control and to make money, obviously, because they're helping you. And they're telling other people that they're helping you and you're troubled.
Exactly. And then when I had gone and finally told Mark about what happened years later, I was surprised. I told him there ain't nothing.
Really?
Nothing.
Like literally when you said that to him, he was just like,
he goes, wow, I'm sorry, Brookie. That was it.
Wow.
That hurt. That one hurt. That one fucking hurt.
That's horrible.
That one hurt.
So there's been multiple instances where obviously people have gone to Mark about issues and
he just
doesn't care.
He didn't care. Yeah. He didn't care. He would have done the same thing if he was given the opportunity. If anything, he was probably jealous, you know, like who knows. But I do know that the way that Mark Dollar felt about me was what he called father-daughter was just like what was in his foreign history of father-daughter. He didn't actually see me as any type of daughter of his. He saw me as a potential mate to someone to take advantage of, to use and abuse. And he did that to the fullest extent that he could without actually physically touching me. Yeah. And like I said, I feel like if any open window would have become available and he would have had the balls enough to actually do it at that time, because we were alone a lot. Like I was alone with this man.
About the kind of things he texted you about. And I know that he commented on your pictures like, oh, Brookie, I like the blonde.
Yes.
Which is really strange. And the nickname
This is when I was living in Colorado.
Yeah.
I'd gone back a little bit blonder. And he was like, oh, Brookie, you know how much I love the blonde and stuff like that. The text messages always revolved around like telling me how much he loved me, how much he missed me, how much he was thinking about me. Like he, you know, like it'd just be random. He'd just be like, oh, just thinking about you today, girly, miss you, love you tons. A lot of times it was just smiley face wars. Like he would just send me like just pages and pages and pages and pages and pages and pages of the smiley face emoji. And we'd just do that back and forth. Or sometimes we'd just play like iPhone games, like, or he would just like text me to see how I was doing. And be like, oh, I'm thinking about you. Or, oh, you know, like I love the blonde. You look so great. You know, things like that. Just
maybe kind of keeping tabs on you too.
Always. Yeah. It wasn't until I finally cut off all interaction and everything where he finally quit keeping tabs on me. But he always, like, it is almost like he could not let me go when I left. He did not want me to go. He didn't want me to leave. He had a really hard time with me leaving.
Tell me a little bit more about when you started noticing that things were going, like something was really wrong.
Well, I'd gained weight living there. I was probably the biggest that I'd ever been in my life, besides being pregnant living there. I was, 110 pounds. I know that's not big for a lot of people, but when when you're smaller stature all your life, I was the biggest I'd ever been, and I could definitely see it. I noticed that things were not okay and when things were wrong when I had dropped weight like that, and every pair of pants that I had owned no longer fit. I was sleeping. I had fallen into, and I had been diagnosed at a young age with bipolar depression. And like I said, when you live there, they take you off all your medications.
Right.
Like I said, I was having seizures while I was there, and Leslie was trying to cast the demons out of me while I was having a seizure. I've had endometriosis. I wasn't allowed to say that I had endometriosis. Had to be taken off all birth control. I couldn't have any of my medicines that I needed. I was taken off of all of it, and that's what triggered my seizures to happen so heavily when they did. Like to the point they were causing me to lose full consciousness for almost like 2 hours.
Oh my God.
Because I was taking off my medicine so rapidly. And it was really bad. And Leslie's sitting there trying to cast demons out of me while I'm having convulsing seizures. Like Sierra said, she's sitting there holding my head as I'm like, and Sierra's crying.
Like she's having a medical emergency right now.
And nobody called ambulance. Nobody called my mom. And I guess I'm crying for my mom. And me and my mom weren't really close at that time. Me and my mom didn't start getting closer
but
until
it's
I was
like
older.
infantile.
But she was there for my seizures when I was a kid, you know? And so it was like, I guess I was calling out for her.
It's like a basic, it's a basic need, I think, that we have.
And when I would wake up, I'd just wake up to a room of everybody who lived there surrounded around me praying over me. Like I was having a problem.
Yeah. Well, I remember when Shayna would pass out because they would like make us fast. Leslie would just be like, "What's wrong with you guys? You need to be drinking water and taking care of yourselves."
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
And then like people, with me, like with low iron and being as small as I am, and I would have to fast, and if I don't eat, I lose weight.
Yeah. I always would get sick if I didn't eat. So I'd be like starving and like sick.
Exactly.
I slept on the bus every morning.
But then, where most girls like Shayna, where she was being constantly criticized about her weight, about being too big, they were criticizing me that I was too small. Yeah. I actually had Leslie come in and yell at me and accuse me of having an eating disorder.
Wow.
I've never had an eating disorder a day in my life. I've never once stuck my finger down my throat. I've never once, starved myself. I get it. I'm small, but I eat. Let me tell you, I put it away.
But whenever you're that stressed, like I've been that way before several times in my life where I'm so stressed that I cannot eat. Like I've actually lost weight during all this because mostly more from excitement. But when you get really stressed to the point where you're like, I have no appetite, like I'm literally dying.
Yes.
That's how people just waste away.
Like I couldn't even fake it or pretend anymore at the end. That's how I knew it was time for me to go. Me and my ex now, that's who I was with. Like he had, started taking me in, and I ended up moving in with him right after I moved out of Adullam. And, spending more time with him and like him he helped open my eyes a lot to things too. Like he's like, you're living in a cult, dude. Like you need to get out. And when I moved in with him, it wasn't even so much like we were together. He was more like, even if we don't work out, whatever, he was like, you can stay here until you figure your shit out. He's like, all I know is you got to get out of there. And so he really helped me like get that push to be like, it's okay to go. It's okay to go. So I remember one night I ended up getting a text message from Mark. They did not kick me out in the normal sense that they do most people. He had just texted me. He said, me and Leslie have been talking and we think it might be your time to go. And so I texted him back and I said, you're absolutely right. I've been thinking the same thing. I'll be there to get my stuff this week. That next day, I went back to the girls' dorm. Not a single person spoke to me because they had told everybody not to speak to me. So I went over into the girls' dorm. Nobody spoke to me. I literally packed everything that I owned, which was barely a car full.
Right.
I put it in my car. I slept there that night, got up the next morning, and I never went back until, later on, whenever I was able to go back in my own freedom, my own power, my own free will to leave and come as I pleased. But I was out of there within less than a day.
Yeah.
So, but I knew it was time for me to go whenever my health was being really impacted. I ended up with like these really bad, like a breakout almost right here on my mouth. Like it was super dry. It was really cracked. And it was really uncomfortable. I lost all that weight. I was extremely depressed. I remember one morning, Leslie came in screaming, yelling at me because I'd slept through a Bible study. But you got to think, I was working at Friendship at this time. So I'm getting up in the mornings to go to Bible study at 6 a.m. Then I'm going back over next door and I'm putting my scrubs on, getting ready to go over to Friendship. And I've got to be there no later than 8 o'clock. So then I'm taking care of these children all day long, these young children who are special needs, who need more care and attention. So I'm doing that all the way from 8 till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I get home and I'm taking care of teenagers from 4 o'clock until bedtime. I'm exhausted. I'm tired. And so
there's so many people who just were exhausted and working all the time.
All the time. If I wasn't working at my other job, I was working at a Adullam. Adullam started to feel like a full-time job, and it was a full-time job.
And I don't know if you know this, but his dad did like this project on them for his class. And in that video that he does, I could probably find it and send it to you. He talks about how like he did some metrics and stuff and evaluations, and Mark in that claims that he started it in 2004, which isn't necessarily true. Maybe Shayna might have been over there and then, but that doesn't really mean to do him.
Right.
But anyway, in that, his dad says there should be no reason that these people can't work a job and then come and do a Adullam after their job.
Come come and do it and then come tell me about it.
Seriously,
Do
I
it
know.
and then come tell me.
Trying to confirm what they wanted to confirm, you know?
Exactly, that's all they wanted to do.
Yeah.
Like, no, let me tell you, like, the excruciating amount of draining. Oh my gosh, you know, and on top of like the pressure from the dance team alone. Like once we became a bigger dance team, like when our group came in after you guys, we didn't just have people who lived there on the dance team. We had people like who were just coming around and being a part on the dance team.
Yeah.
So our dance team got big, and we learned a lot of new dances. And let me tell you, I loved it. I was extremely passionate about it. Like, man, I really think that's what wrapped me in the most, was how much I loved that dance team.
Well, it is fun and entertaining, and that's why the ramp does it too, because it's very exciting, and it's exciting to be part of something like that.
And I'm an exterior kid. Like, I did plays all through school. I did choir. I ran cross country and track. I had to quit all of that when I moved into there. I wasn't allowed to do any of it.
You're not allowed to do anything but the dance team.
And I missed cross country and track. Those are my favorites. Doing the plays, doing drama class. Like, I loved all of that. And I was no longer allowed to participate or be a part of it. And so I didn't want to participate or be a part of anything. I was miserable my entire senior year. Mark actually let me skip a lot of school just because I didn't want to go. Just because I don't want to go.
That's just a way for him to gain favor with you too.
Exactly. Like, Mark pretty much would do anything and everything. Like, all I would have to do is give him a certain look, and he would give me what I wanted. Like, Mark was very much weirdly infatuated with me, and you know, and it sucks that I didn't see it then, you know, and like parts of me saw it, you know, like it was kind of strange, it was weird, because I've always, my relationship with men growing up has not always been well. Like, most men most of my life have just looked at me and treated me as an object.
Oh my god, like, I literally feel like an object for being me, you know?
Yes, exactly.
Like, people sexualize you so much.
And when you're bubbly and outgoing, they're like, oh, then they're just expecting something from you. Unfair for them to do that to us in the way that they do it to us. But the fact that it's in a ministry and they're doing it to us. These are people who are supposed to be protecting us from people like that. This is a man who's calling me his dad. You know, he's like, oh, they wanted to adopt me. I was 18 years old and they were trying to adopt. Yes.
Jesus.
And it's like, why? So you can
probably taxes.
I think so too. Yes. I really think so too.
It's like every check on their list that they could get to get more money.
Agreed. I think they were literally just money hungry fools who wanted to not actually lift a finger to do anything.
I know. Oh my god.
They didn't
get a normal job. Jesus.
Exactly. Like, Leslie's normal job of working Ray Alana's once a year. Oh my gosh. She just acted like that was her, you know, like, sit down, take a nap or something. That's what you do best anyway.
Oh my god, seriously. So what else do you want people to know about Mark and Leslie?
Goodness. There's so much to tell, and I really hope to like get to tell more. But for now, I think the best thing to say about Mark and Leslie is something that they love to say a lot was, you know, the light always comes out in the dark, you know, and I love the fact that I know where we're sitting right now on this floor, but they're in another room, you know, saying that the devil's coming after them.
Being
persecuted. We're being persecuted.
You're blessed and highly favored. That's why you're persecuted.
Exactly.
It's not accountability.
No. These are people that I don't think will actually ever take accountability.
Yeah, I agree.
But you know what? That's okay. I don't think we need them to take accountability. I think we just need them to know that we no longer fall for their bullshit.
Right. Just having this is so healing.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think it's really important to learn people like Mark and Leslie are a good study. If you really want to learn how to not fall for a narcissist tricks, or if you really want to learn the book end of what not to do, they're it.
Yes.
They're it, you know?
So true.
And I really think that if people are going to come in and they're going to promise you things like a family and love, then those people really truly need to hold up to that, or they just need to leave people the fuck alone.
Seriously.
Just leave us the fuck alone.
Just be honest about what you're doing. Like,
right.
Whatever.
Like, just say who you are and let us decide from there. But you know you're pieces of shit.
Yeah.
So therefore, of course, you're not going to tell people the truth.
Yeah.
All I'm hoping is that this eventually not only just exposes them for who they are, but I'm really hoping that there are people along in the world who, for one, if they ever meet Mark and Leslie, they can just see who they are. And I really hope that they're like, people avoid them like the plague. I really do. But I really hope that people who might be in situations like we're in now and not even realize it, see these, happen to come across these videos or something, and they realize what they're in and they can escape to and get away before things get way too out of control.
Seriously.
Because more people should be speaking up about what they're going through. And some people are living in situations that most people from the outside think are totally normal and totally okay, until you actually see behind closed doors, and it's it's a monster within. And Adula was definitely the monster within.
And I think too often we err on the side of caution. I think we should go the opposite.
Yeah,
I think we should suspect everything.
Yes. Absolutely. I'm not going to say that couldn't possibly be true, because everything else that we thought possibly couldn't be true has come to be true.
Absolutely.
And that's including things with the ramp, you know, and we were very associated with the ramp when I lived there. We went there very often.
We didn't even get into that, but they were so deep into the ramp.
So deep. I mean, like, I'm telling you, like, the obsession even then for me was weird.
It is.
I was like, why are you guys so obsessed with these people? And, you know, the more I looked back on it, I'm like, oh, of course, because they have everything that you want.
Yes.
So they found their way to weasel themselves in and get themselves a platform, and that's exactly what they did. And unfortunately, it came at the expense of their own children.
I know.
But that's how much these people don't give a shit about anybody, that they don't even care about their own children.
No.
They're willing to exploit, use, and abuse their own children to get where they want.
Yes, and their kids have gotten, like, really not a lot from that.
No.
Like, there's not a lot of stuff that they got from paying all that money.
No. Those kids really, you know what, their kids could say that they had it just as bad as us, because they went through it all from the very beginning to the very end, even now.
That's true. Maybe they didn't get all the ways the treatment that we had, but they definitely did get treated bad at times.
Oh, absolutely. Especially like their Eli, the boys, got treated awfully by Mark.
Yes. I have some pictures I want to show you where, like, you can kind of see Mark's, like, forcing Eli to smile and stuff. I'll send it to you. But they also lost so much of their, like, special family time that they could have had, just like living a normal family life, and having youth.
They took that away from those poor kids, and like those younger kids should have never had us raising them. We should have never been the ones. Right?
So who's your mom?
Yes, the way that Zeke was calling other women in the house mommy, and that was pissing Leslie off. But Leslie, you're not around.
Yeah,
you're not around. You're in your room or in your chair.
Yes, seriously. Like that kid. Like I would not be surprised if some of her kids have like attachment issues because of that. For sure.
Oh, I would absolutely agree. And that's really sad, you know, because at the end of the day, the kids didn't deserve it.
Right.
You know,
I agree.
As much, and I will go ahead and say this on here, as much as I have despised Caroline for a very long time, and Caroline, if you're seeing this, I'm so proud of you for cutting your mom off. I really am. I'm so proud of you for that. Like, my respect for you went up a little bit, for sure.
Actually, yeah, I think that's pretty ballsy.
I think so, too. I think that's pretty fucking awesome. I mean, this is what you were, the golden child. You were it. You know, you were going to be the one to sit on the throne next to God. You know, so for you to be treated how you were so highly and everything, and I know you didn't always get fair treatment, but, you know, for her to be treated the way that she was, and for her to still go and cut them off the way that she did and not let Leslie see the grandkids, good for you. That was a great call. I think she made the right decision.
It has to be so confusing for them because, you know, you always want your parents' love and approval.
Absolutely.
And so I'm sure there will be times when they go back and forth. And honestly, I do hope that someday, maybe some crazy ass fucking world, Leslie will change, at least to their kids.
At least to their kids.
That'd be nice.
And honestly, like, I could care less if they ever change on our benefit, whatever. As long as they quit taking kids into their homes. Like, they need to quit letting, and that's the other thing too, is like, I want this to prevent them from ever allowing them to have another person in their home, including their own children at this point. They don't even need to have their own children.
But especially no more children aren't theirs.
Like, exactly. Please. Because at a point, Mark has proven that he's getting more and more dangerous.
Seriously.
Leslie has proven that she is more and more going to close her eyes to it. So at this point, any other girl that could be brought into their vicinity could be very much in danger, and that scares the living hell out of me.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's sad because I'm so scared to see a girl go through what I went through, but then not have to go through that, but also have to go through the abuse along with it when it comes to being physically assaulted. And I don't want that for anybody.
I know, it's been so hard for me to see so many people, and it's weird for me to be like one of the early people, and then to see all these people that came afterwards. But that just goes to show how much they did not learn from those of us who went before you. No.
If anything, they progressively got worse.
Seriously.
They really did.
Oh, we take in kids who have suicidal issues. Like, no. You don't need to be taking nobody.
No, they took full credit for mine, for sure. And just so you guys know, you guys don't get full credit for being the ones who were the reason why I didn't commit suicide the night that I was going to commit suicide. That was not them by any means. Just because I was there at that church and Mark was the pastor that night does not mean you were the one that saved my freaking life. Absolutely not.
To take accountability.
They did. And I let them have that for a very long time, you know? And it wasn't them. If I can give credit to anybody, it is to a great friend, Tori McVeigh. she was the whole reason why I ended up not going through with it that night. If I can thank anybody, I can thank her. She's the one who deserves all that credit. I love you, Tori.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for doing this. I know it's so brave of you.
Good. Leslie tried to turn me into you.
Which is so weird.
Now look at us, guys. Aren't you so happy we're together? Yeah.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much for letting us do this.
Of course. Awesome. No, we're in this together. Yes. This is not me letting you. We're not in a cult. So.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. No more letting. Yes.